Hello, Sumo fans. We are back. Well, sort of. I am back, your host, Maria. Unfortunately, doing this whole thing solo for the preview show this time. Unfortunately, John has a little bit of injury situation, nothing serious, but he asked me to go solo. So if you guys, want to send him well wishes or whatever, I'm sure he would appreciate that. But fortunately, you still have me. Unfortunately, you won't have John. Hopefully, the show will still be entertaining. We'll have this will premiere tomorrow during the day, and then you'll have the live chat. So hopefully that will get you through. It certainly is not the same kind of show without John, but I do have his notes, so his essence will be with us today. So, here we go. November. We are in November. Can you believe it already? And as you can see here, we've got November 10th is when it starts. Goes till right before American Thanksgiving. And we're going to have a good time. The November tournament is exciting because it's the last tournament of the year, so everybody gets extra amped up. Puts in every ounce of effort they have. They want to end the year on a good note. This gentleman right here, Mr. Onosato, he's definitely going to want to put his best foot forward, and so are so many others. So it should be interesting. A down note for me, of course, is that November has always been Takakeisho's tournament. So this will be my first November without Takakeisho. But I think we will see him premiere in the commentary booth this month. So I'll be looking out for that. And when we do live streams in the second week, I will talk about whatever Takakeisho said if I can find a translation. And, we'll find a way to keep him in this conversation as long as we can. But anyway, back to sumo business because that's why we're all here. Let's start right up at the top with Terunofuji, our last remaining Yokozuna, of course maintaining the same rank. He did not appear in the last tournament, 0-15. I think it's not even possible that he's going to show up this month. I really don't think so. His body seems to be breaking down more and more. I've read some reports about his diabetes actually getting quite out of control because his knees are bad, so he's not exercising as much, and so he can't get his blood sugar down. When you have that kind of scenario going on, it's only a matter of time before he's really pushed out. Now, we've all been speculating that the reason he's even still here is because Issei Gahama retires, I believe, in May. So I think he's going to try to stay on the Banzuke till May, and I'm sure there's talk behind the scenes of, elder stock. That's another factor. John had speculated that he thought he would show up in January. Always possible. But if he does show up in January, we have no idea what kind of shape he's going to be in. So, Terunofuji really just a placeholder right now. And he's got a bunch of guys coming up that really, really want to take the spot. But, we'll go through the notes and see why that may not happen anytime soon. So next we have Kotozakura, Ozeki 1 East, maintaining the same rank, 8-7. Wasn't his best tournament. He wasn't dominant. He started off better, actually, than Hoshoryu, but then by the end, he winds up with the exact same score. But the one thing you can say about him is he remains consistent. Now, prior to the Kotozakura, Hoshoryu, duo of Ozeki, there were not many Ozeki who could stay out of Kadoban. So, at the very least, Kotozakura has shown us he's Ozeki. There's no question about it. He doesn't belong anywhere lower. He didn't luck into it. But now we're at the place where can you ascend or will you be a career Ozeki? He does have the consistency, but now he has to take it up a notch. Well, November is his chance. Okay, so last term of the year, like I said, This is the time to show what you have. Like, put it all on the line for one grand final tournament of the year so that everyone is talking about you in the new year. Now, if he were to go on and, say, win this tournament, then in the new year, he would be going on a Yokozuna run. So that's always the exciting thing about rooting for an Ozeki to have a good tournament. So we will have to see. I heard reports about Kotozakura being a little iffy in the training sessions. However, training kind of doesn't mean anything. I mean, we've kind of learned that at this point. Some guys excel in training, like, Takayasu, Goedo. Those were two guys that were always fantastic in training, and then they would show up to the tournament and not so good. So Kotozakura could turn the whole thing around, but I feel like anything negative in training could mean something. Hopefully not. Hopefully this is his tournament. But our next man, Hoshoryu, who maintains the same rank at Ozeki 1 West, also 8-7, would probably prefer that he have the better tournament. You see, this is a rivalry that, if both men stay healthy, is going to be very exciting and fire up the sport. And we all know how fired up Hoshoryu is. He doesn't need much. He doesn't need much to go off on a tear. And apparently in his training sessions, especially on the tour, he's just going and going and going and fighting as many people as he can and mean mugging it and pumping himself up. It remains to be seen if that works to his favor or not. But certainly you cannot say the man lacks effort. He certainly gives it everything he has. And I think that's why a lot of people like him. That's precisely the reason. So his last tournament, I'm finding out now, I didn't realize it at the time, but I'm finding out that September really isn't his tournament, I guess. Once again, he got 8-7 too. September was rough for him. It was a real downer because we wanted to see something really exciting happen, knowing that Takekesho was definitely out in that tournament. It would have been nice to see an Ozeki rise, which we did get, but it wasn't Hoshoryu. This is his time. If anybody can use the motivation of a final tournament of the year, it's Hoshoryu. And I would like to see a new, November champion, so to speak. Takekesho was my November guy, and, Hoshoryu is my guy now. So I'm hoping that he can, at the very least, be in the Yusho conversation and not get hurt again. He's going to have to be very, very careful. It appears that the injuries he's been receiving are from doing things like throwing the Kotozakuras. And while we love the throws, and please never get rid of the throws, Hoshoryu has to be very calculated in who he throws and how he throws, and his basic stretches and his basic training has to be top notch. That's really the only way to avoid injury. You can't overtrain, but you also have to be as stretched out as possible, as strong as possible, and as careful as possible. Because any wrong move, and that's it. There goes a knee. There goes a hip. There goes a shin, whatever. As you guys have seen with all these sumo wrestlers who are getting hurt constantly. So for Hoshoryu, he's going to really want to be careful to avoid injury, but he's also going to want to make sure he's not tentative. And as we know about Hoshoryu, he does not look good in the first couple of days of a tournament. He's a slow starter. And while I'd love to see, for his sake, a win on day 1, I wouldn't panic until day 3. If he loses again on 1 and 2, I still think he can pull the tournament together, but it's got to be by day 3. So if he can't turn his tournament around and get motivated for the very first moment, at least shorten the time it takes to get ready for the moment. And I think he'll be okay. So now we go to Onosato. He is our Shin Ozeki. He takes Takekesho's place, which is kind of poetic and nice that As we lose an Ozeki, we gain a new one. That's what we got with Tochinoshin as well. Kind of like when life goes full circle like that. He got a 13-2. He won the Yusho. He is the man of the hour that everyone's after. So he's got the double whammy of winning a Yusho and becoming Ozeki at the same time, which means he's got Yusho pressure, new rank pressure, and the expectation of, okay, we're already thinking about Yokozuna. We're already thinking, how does he match up with Hoshoryu? How does he match up with Kotozakura? That's already happening. This is the true test for a young man who hasn't been in the sport very long. Can he deal with the pressure? Now, so far, he has really been the most consistent in general, success-wise, but he is still so new. And he still has so much more to do and so much more climbing. So on one hand, you're going to have a whole group of fans who are putting everything on him. And you're going to have a whole group of fans who do not like him at all because he beats their favorite wrestler, because it's too easy, because his sumo is boring, because they woke up on the wrong side of the bed. The point is that he will be a polarizing figure now. So, what can he do with that? Traditionally, what we've seen with both the Yusho situation and becoming a new Ozeki, usually they don't happen at the same time, but in both scenarios, usually the person doesn't have a great tournament the next tournament. So if I'm going on precedence, I would say Onosato probably is getting a 9-6. If, he's up to his highest level. But we really don't know. I mean, I've said this a million times. And I'll click on it right now. My computer will allow it. My computer's not allowing it. Look at how little time he's actually been in sumo. He's literally a baby. And anything's possible. We really don't know what he's capable of. I can say that he has the fundamentals down really well. He's got two advantages. He's a big guy, and he's big in the right places. In the kind of places where you are not going to get injured. You're not going to be as injury prone as some others who are also big. He's big, powerful, and he does the fundamentals well. He seems to have his head in the game. Doesn't seem to lose focus. But that pressure factor is really what we are going to be keeping an eye on. So, it's going to be exciting to see him fight the other Ozeki. It's going to be very exciting to see what he does. I'm going to love reading the comment sections, both the love and the hate. I'm in for it. And if he wins the Yusho once again, now we have somebody going on a Yokozuna run, which I failed to mention with Hoshoryu. My bad. Any one of these guys, they win, they go on a Yokozuna run. Very exciting. Haven't seen one since Takakesho. I'm looking forward to the new year, and hopefully we're going to get some of these exciting things, especially with Terunofuji on the way out. We really need one of these Ozekis at the very least to step it up and take the place of the guy on the top. But we have Kirishima, who moves up to Sekiwake 1 East from Sekiwake 2 East with a 12-3. Mathematically, if he gets 13 wins in November, he can return to Ozeki. And now we would be going back to that 4 Ozeki thing that we had a couple of different times in the last 7 years or so. And then you start asking, is he the guy to go to Yokozuna? Now, of course, you guys are chatting. You'll either be doing comments or you'll be in the chat right now throwing out all sorts of opinions. But I do ask you, who do you think is going to be the Ozeki who finally breaks the ceiling and becomes Yokozuna? I'm going to talk a little bit more about Kirishima, but then I'm going to talk about what I think. So, if he can just maintain his level of sumo, that's really where his goal should be. He shouldn't be thinking too high because then everything can fall apart. And if he's consistent, then he'll just get it. November's really a huge test for him because he lost the rank and he's coming back so quickly. It doesn't usually work that way. Usually it's you lose the rank and either you come back up with Ozekiwake, which is still extremely hard to do, or you fool around down at the bottom for a little while and maybe you never quite make it up there. So Kirishima has an opportunity to do something that is really hard to do. And you would think that that could propel you into greater heights if you accomplish that one particular goal. So we will see. We will see. We could have a tournament where we get another Ozeki. We could have a tournament with another Ozeki and someone who's going to go on a Yokozuna run. We could have all sorts of upward movement right here at the end of 2024, which is a very exciting prospect. In terms of who do I think can be Yokozuna first, I'm a Hoshoryu fan. Like, I'm so there. I'm so, like, deeply a Hoshoryu fan. But I'm not convinced yet. Just like I wasn't convinced with Takekesho. I mean, I wanted it for him. And as I've done many, many, many videos on this, he was pretty close. But it wasn't enough. Hoshoryu is in a much better position to become a Yokozuna than Takekesho. But he's kind of small compared to Onosato and Kotozakura. And while that doesn't mean it can't be done, he does have an upward climb when you've got these two monster guys who can, and technically they could just stand there and beat some guys. They have a huge advantage by being huge. Now Hoshoryu is the talented guy, the guy with a million moves, but he's got to be so careful. And he's got to get sort of his mental stuff in check, whether it's ego or whether it's confidence or whatever it is. He's got to get his head on straight. I don't know that it's there yet. I think Onosato really has a good shot at it. And I know a lot of people are like I said, there are people who love Onosato. But there are people who hate Onosato. And they don't think he could become Yokozuna. I'm saying he's got everything he needs to be Yokozuna. And I think he could leapfrog both of these guys. Now, the X factor being, you got to stay healthy. You got to stay injury-free. That's always going to be the case. I could predict any single one of these guys to become the next Yokozuna, and if they get hurt tomorrow, it's over. I mean, you're fighting on the razor-thin edge of glory and total defeat all the time. I mean, that's what fighting is. Even if it's in a sport and not, like, out for survival, fighting means putting everything on the line. And sometimes you come out the top guy, and sometimes you come out broken. So, I'm not making any negative predictions for anybody. I'm just saying, everybody stay healthy as I knock on lots and lots of wood. So, back to Kirishima. I have no reason to think he can't stay consistent. I just have no idea if he's got it in him to become Ozeki again. I think he does. But I'm not going to bet on it. Just gonna let it ride, see where it goes. Next we have Daisho, Sekiwake 1 West, up from Komusubi 1 East, 8 and 7. So he's in the higher level of Sanyaku again. It doesn't seem like he's proven himself to be upper level Sanyaku material, but he hasn't necessarily proven that he's got the next step for Ozeki. He's getting older by the day. He's getting more beat up by the day. But you can never count it out. You just can't. Look to our guy Shodai to show you that anything is possible at any time. And we will talk about Shodai and the Banzuke and the craziness. But anyway, I think Daisho just needs to go back to the basics, fight his style of sumo, do the best he can, take advantage of anybody who's struggling, and then we just see what happens. At the very least, like, he's proven himself to... I remember there was a time where he was stuck in the Maegashira grind forever. And it felt like he was never going to get to Sanyaku. Then he gets to Sanyaku and you're like, yeah, but he'll drop right back out. And no, he did elevate his game to another level. He did prove himself capable of being a consistent Sanyaku wrestler. He proved that that can happen. But just, it's so much harder each time you go higher to be that next higher rank. Ozeki is miles away from Sanyaku, and Yokozuna is miles and miles away from Ozeki. So I think Daisho's just got to do what he does. Just give it all he's got, stay in the matches, and, you know, good things come at some point until the body breaks down. So hopefully he's got a lot more time. You know, keep those fingers safe. They're looking kind of broken. And now we have Wakamotoharu, Komusubi 1 East, up from Maegashira 3 West with an 11-4. This was a decisive return to Wakamotoharu's style, form, quality of sumo. This wasn't a like, oh, you know, maybe he's getting better. It's, oh no, he's better. He's back to his old self again. So the question is, will November be the time for him to start looking higher, or is he just going to hold? Is this a holding position right now? And how does it factor in with Wakatakakage flying up the ranks as expected after this injury? You know, will he be spurred on by his brother? They can help each other. I mean, as you can see here, and we'll talk about the ranking thing, but, you know, he's right here at Maegashira 2. He's going to fight some of the same guys, and it's really going to help his brother out if he can take, you know, some wins off of some guys. And vice versa. You know, these two can work as a tandem and not face each other unless there's a playoff. So we almost got partners here taking on the upper ranks. So that should only help Wakamotoharu, but he's got to stay healthy. He's had the issue with either the foot or the foot and ankle. There was some possibility of that. But if it's fully healed, then Wakamotoharu is someone to watch out for. He's someone who has been on Ozeki runs. He's someone who's touched, you know, the upper levels of Sanyaku. He's ready to make a move, I think. It's just a question of, is he ready in November? Which we'll find out, and it'll be very exciting because there's so many storylines in November. And we'll see what happens with his brother, who I really had hoped to see in this second Komusubi spot. We did not choose to do that in our Guess the Banzuke, but it's what I really wanted. I'm like, if we're going to be wrong about who's here, I really, really hope it's because it's Wakatakakage and we weren't willing to take a risk. But no, it was our next man, Shodai. Komusubi 1 at West, up from Maegashira 4 East with a 10-5. So we had the choice of Shodai, Oho, Wakatakakage, and basically the pick was the chaos pick. Now, we knew it was very possible for Shodai to take this spot. I think maybe precedence settled in there. Shodai is a former Ozeki. Maybe they thought, you know, they pulled one of those he deserves it more situations. They're probably a little hesitant on Wakatakakage because of injuries. You know, he could, you know, fly up so fast that his body's not ready. Oho, they've been kind of down on because he hasn't lived up to potential. So I could actually see the thought process of putting Shodai in here. I really thought it was going to be Oho, though. I thought they were going to give him a debut or give us the passion pick with Wakatakakage and have the two brothers together in the same rank. But no, they chose Shodai for the reasons they choose. And once again, this is so random because Shodai has been floundering around on different parts of Maegashira for a long time now, looking nothing like a former Ozeki, looking tired, uninterested, outworked, outmatched, and then all of a sudden he starts coming alive in July and September, and all of a sudden he's looking like Ozeki Shodai, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, he's back in Sanyaku. Is he gonna like try for this again? Now I know a lot of people look at Shodai and say, oh well, he just lucked into Ozeki. there is no lucking into Ozeki. There is very fortunate things that can happen for you that can make that path open up. But you have to do the work. You're not going to just get an Ozeki without the work. So is he a squeak into it? Sure. But he's just not consistent, but he does have Ozeki quality sumo if he puts it all together. So the question is, will he be like, all right, I feel like I'm going back to Ozeki, I'm going to work for it? Or is he going to be like, ugh, what a drag. I didn't mean to get into Komusubi. Why am I here again? And just tank and go right back down into the Maegashira. I don't know. Because Shodai is chaotic. There's no consistency. There's no guessing. There's nothing. You can't put a pattern together. He's Shodai. That's all I can say for the man. He's Shodai. So, you guys can put in the comment section or in the chat what you think Shodai is going to do. You know, is he going to win the whole tournament, or is he going to go and do an Ono show, you know, and be like, 3-12? I don't know. I'm not even going to guess. I have no clue. So now we're going to move to Oho. Maegashira 1 East up from Maegashira 2 West with the 9 and 6. He had a great September. One to be proud of. But the committee decided, rightly or wrongly, that it wasn't good enough for a Sanyaku debut. And that had to hurt. So he finds himself 8 wins away from getting into the elite level. But he has to muster up his previous confidence, his power. He can't get derailed or downtrodden about not making it. He has to use the fact that they put him in Maegashira 1 as fuel to work harder, stronger, smarter. He's got to eat that feeling until it makes him a more powerful, stable sumo wrestler. And I think he can do it. John thinks he can do it. But will he do it? I don't know. But I'm certainly getting more excited about Oho. I've been rooting for him since he came up, and then he just really disappointed me. And I had to let him go. I just had to do it. I didn't want to. It's just, you can only get your heart broken so many times before you're like, maybe I'm going to pass on this one. So I want to get behind him again. I want to root for him. I want to believe in Oho. Believe in his abilities. So I'm hoping November is a great tournament for him. I'm hoping he throws a wrench into the plans of all these top guys who haven't been thinking about him, haven't been looking at him, with the exception of Hoshoryu, of course. And we are going to get the classic Hoshoryu Oho match now with the ranking the way it is. The more people competing, the stronger everybody's going to get. You really need tough competition to push yourself to the next level. I think that's part of what had been hard for some guys in the past, is that there was a period of sumo where things were just sort of unstable and I dare say a little mediocre. And some stables, the guys had no one to train with, and you had the COVID mess where you couldn't train with people outside of your stable. It's hard to push yourself to the next level without having someone else to emulate, without having someone else to compete with. Someone who gets under your skin and drives you insane until you feel like you've just grabbed another inch closer to them or another inch higher than them. And I think right now it's ripe for that. This is a very competitive pool of guys, all around the same age, all around the same health, all around the same skill level. Most of them you would not say are one-trick ponies, as, some people have called my dear friend Takanoso. They've got a lot of tricks on their sleeve, and they don't have persistent injuries. So these guys should all make each other stronger. We should be seeing something really good down the line, is my hope. Speaking of which, we'll now go to Hiradoumi, Maegashira 1 West, down from Komusubi 1 West with a 7 and 8. Now, this was unfortunate for him, but he's right there. He's still right there. It's just Maegashira 1. He's got the heart. He's got the strength. He's got the will to give it everything he's got. You can question some of these guys like Shodai. Maybe even Onosato to a degree, because part of why he wins is because he's so big. But does he have the heart to just fight no matter what's going on? I don't know. But we don't question that with Hiradoumi. We know that he has the heart to fight and to claw and to scrape and to put it all out there. So it's just Maegashira 1 West. If he can just sort of get the right amount of rest and the right amount of training and get his head nice and straight, he's going to be good. He's going to be fine. He's going to be challenging all of these other guys that I was speaking about. Each time I get to a new guy, a new rank, I think, whoa, like the potential here in all of these different guys could create a powder keg of competition, of wildness, of like 6-way playoffs. Like the potential is huge if everyone's on their game. In Hiradoumi, he just adds to this whole situation. But he's had a setback now. The 7 and 8, dropping out of Sanyaku. He's gonna be in the uphill climb. He's not sitting pretty trying to build off of what he's done. So it could be rocky. It could be another 7 and 8. But you just don't know. You just don't know how things are going to go until you're out there. And you just put it out there, and whatever happens will happen. He's going to get all the top matches being there still. Very similar matches to what he had in the last tournament. So, just a little bit of luck here, a little bit of extra oomph here, and it's an 8 and 7 instead of a 7 and 8. And I think that's what he needs to focus on. Not getting too in his head, not getting like, oh, I should be better than this. Just let's reverse the numbers. Make that 7 and 8 and 8 and 7, and the world opens up. Next, we have our guy, Wakatakakage, Maegashira 2 East, up from Maegashira 7 East, 12 and 3. That was a Yusho in so many bashos in the last couple years. So, like, a 12 and 3 is, like, nowhere near a record to sneeze at. And unfortunately, they did not decide to push him up into Sanyaku. I didn't think they would. I really didn't. Just because of the other guys in the mix. I think if this was a couple years ago, they probably would have, because there wasn't anybody really to take the spot. But right now, it's competitive, and you got guys like crazy who want these spots. So he's just going to have to wait a little bit longer, just a little bit, to get back into Sanyaku. September should be a warning to the other people that he's back. You can't doubt him. You have to be worried about him. And all the elites, they've been waiting. They knew. Wakamotoharu doesn't have to worry about it, of course. But Hoshoryu knew. Him and Wakatakakage had a fierce rivalry before the injury. He's been waiting. He's been counting down the days. Onosato hasn't really had much of a history, so that's going to be interesting. But we see what Wakatakakage did in September with Onosato. Kotozakura, same thing. They don't have really the rivalry yet, but it's coming. I fully expect, with health considerations in there, I'm always going to have to put that caveat, I fully expect Wakatakakage to perform exactly the same, if not better, than he did in September. And that means Yusho possibility, Yusho contention, playoff possibility. It means a lot of things. It means a wild, wild time. And like I said, him and his brother, this is the beauty of having a brother or a stablemate in a similar rank as you. These two can clean each other's messes. Wakamotoharu loses to, say, Daisho, Wakatakakage could beat him the next day. Or they could go and beat each other's opponents every single time. They could end up in a playoff. They could, at this rate, with this skill, with other factors, they could wind up facing each other in a playoff. To which, like, the biggest party in the world must be thrown. Because us modern day sumo fans have not seen something like that. You got to go back to the 90s or early 2000s to see something like that. So it's time. It's time for us to get what we want. And Wakatakakage can do this. As long as he stays healthy, I don't concern myself about any other part of his sumo. I know there are people who doubt his ability, don't think he's Ozeki material. He never made it to Ozeki, but I forget that sometimes. I 100% believe Wakatakakage is Ozeki material. I don't doubt that for 1 second. I really don't. But I don't know about Yokozuna. So I think Wakatakakage needs to just do his thing, be consistent, keep going, keep trying, and time will just take care of it. And he'll be up there with everybody else fighting it out, and we'll be, maybe we'll have to figure out who we think, maybe we need to do a poll or something as who's the next Yokozuna is, because it's going to happen eventually. But anyway, best of luck to you, Wakatakakage. I hope you show them that it was a mistake to put you in Maegashira 2 and you just dominate, because that can only help us. Speaking of domination in terms of popularity is Mr. Ura, the most popular sumo wrestler by far. Now that I say that, I don't know what the results of the popularity poll were. I would really like someone to put that in the chat if they could. I'm assuming someone will be in the chat at some point. We're not live, but I know that you guys are in the chat. So I'm talking to you in the future. Future 42 Opinion subscribers, please tell me how the popularity poll went. We have Ura Maegashira 2 West up from Maegashira 5 East with a 9 and 6. He showed strength and hunger in his September wins. He's deepening the bag of tricks. He's showing that there's way more to him than maybe we even realized. Maybe that even he realized. Ura is a huge X factor in all of this. Because while I definitely can say I don't see him as an elite wrestler per se. I know that he has elite abilities. He has the ability to beat anyone. It doesn't mean he will. But on a good day, Ura can beat anyone. And that's the first quality you need to be an elite wrestler. What makes you elite is when you put it together and you just do it. So that's the difference. If you can beat anyone and then you do, that's when you're elite. Ura's not at that level. I don't know if he ever will be. He certainly doesn't seem to believe he is that level. But it doesn't stop him from trying. I still can't get over the statement he made when he was like, I didn't want to get beat for spirit. You could wrap up Ura's entire essence by that statement. This man's going to go in there and give it everything he's got. And he has great sumo sense, a million different tricks. He can grab any body part or throw you over any body part. Or he could slap you, or he could move out of the way. He can do anything. It's just... it's a sport of inches, so, you just might not win when you're just kind of doing whatever comes to mind. He's like a sumo artist. He paints. He paints on the dohyo, and, sometimes it works out, and sometimes he has to paint over it again in the next match. But he makes it very fun and interesting. The crowd loves him more than anybody else. It's got to be so, that's a factor too, right? When Ura steps in, the crowd is going nuts. And when he wins, the crowd explodes like it's day 15. Every single match. And when he loses, the crowd's all like, oh. That is a factor that he can bring into his matches that no one else can besides some of the really big guys. The pressure and the intimidation of all the fans are going to be upset if I beat this guy. Some guys will thrive on that because they'll be like, yeah, I want to disappoint the fans. I want to hear them get upset. Sometimes hearing sorrow is just as motivating as hearing joy. But other guys, it might make them a little nervous. This match is there's so much tension here. So that's an X factor that Ura has. And he's not giving up. He's not giving up. He's made it to Maegashira 2. He showed us enough consistency to show us that he could stay here for a while. Or he could rise. He could take Hiradoumi's spot. He could take Oho's spot if Oho isn't on his game. Shodai, I already told you, we don't know what's going to happen with him. He could certainly take Shodai's spot. So there's a couple of places where if he just puts it all together, there's a spot waiting for him. This is where the competition comes in. This is where Oho's got to be hungry. Hiradoumi's got to be hungry. Shodai's got to show up. I don't know what to say about him. But if they slip just a little bit, Ura's right there. He's right there on the cusp. And he doesn't have a goal. He's not shooting for Ozeki. He's not shooting for Yokozuna. He's not shooting for Yushos. He's shooting to be an entertainer. To bring light to the fans. To have good matches. To love what he's doing. That's a dangerous man. A man who's got no goal but to go in there and have a blast. So, our X Factor Ura, never ever count him out. And if he wins a Yusho, there's a party there too. I got a list of the biggest parties in the world you could throw if certain things happen. Waka Brother playoff, Ura Yusho. These parties would just be massive at this point. So, good luck, Ura. I hope for very good things from you. Next, we have a little bit of a downer after all that excitement and hype. And that would be Abi, Maegashira 3 East, down from Sekiwaki 1 East with a 5-10. He tumbled down. It was not a good September. He did do what Abi does, though. Abi will look down and out, and then he'll just pull off a win that makes you just want to... You're like, I can't stand this man. He gets Onosato on the last day. And nobody saw it coming except for a few. I saw it coming, okay? I followed Abi enough. I didn't want to bet the farm on it, but I was pretty confident that Abi was going to make it dicey. And I was pretty sure he was going to win because Onosato had already clinched it, so what difference did it make? And Abi, he thrives on doing little sneaky things that up his game. So I think he's hurt. I think he's found it very difficult since his stable master died to really get consistent mentally. I don't think he's found himself. He might be a little lost in the forest, as we say. The injuries are a big problem. And then you have the fact that people know his style. Like, you could call him a one-trick pony. I don't like the term, quite frankly, because I think if you're really, really good at something, it doesn't matter if that's your only trick. Now you're because we're talking about a competition here. We're not talking about a solo exhibition where you're watching one person do one thing. You're watching one style of sumo collide with another style of sumo. So one trick pony doesn't matter. Because if all he does is push and thrust, he's always fighting someone new. So the match is still new. It doesn't really matter. And it's exciting to see, how does this guy do against the push and thrust? How does this guy do against the push and thrust? How does this guy do against the ballerina parry at the edge? It makes the other guys more well-rounded to face this guy and see how they would do. So I don't like the one-trick pony thing. However, where it hurts him is that people know what he's going to do. And it's really hard for him at this point to come up with another thing to do that they're not going to see coming. Mix that with being injured and maybe a little mentally off, it's going to be an uphill climb for him. I wouldn't be too shocked if he kind of flounders in the Maegashira ranks for a little while until like something big happens. He has an epiphany. He gets a new training partner. An injury heals because he's not fighting the top guys. I firmly expect at some point some spark of inspiration happens and we get a return to Sanyaku, or we get another Yusho, or we get something happen with Abi. I don't think his entire life is like stuck where he is now, but I also think it might be a while before we see anything really good from him. There's just too many things working against him, but we'll see. We'll see. And the next man is kind of in that boat as well. Atamifuji, Maegashira 3 West, down from Maegashira 2 West with a 7 and 8. Not too bad of a demotion. Very, expected demotion because of the 7 and 8. He's hurt. He's got issues. He's got arthritis already. He's only 20-something years old, like 22 or 23. Already dealing with arthritis. He might be a little big for his size. I know there's a lot of chatter about that, which is tricky. But maybe some guys would be better suited to be a little less heavy because the heaviness does cause injury. He's gone from being like that sensation who almost won a Yusho to being a really good fighter who's losing hard fought matches. And each time he picks up another injury or a nagging situation, he drops lower. And while it's a slow decline, it'd be best to like stave this off. Like stop the bleeding, halt, get a hold, get an 8 and 7 to just go up a rank. Like now's the time, if it's going to happen, to just fix this. Now what he has on his side, like I said, is his youth. So hopefully he can heal. I think that's really what he has to focus on now, is healing, holding rank, maybe just going up incrementally until something happens. Right now he's in an unstable state where, you know, obviously he would take a 12 and 3 if his sumo's that good, great. But if it's not, fight well enough to see the next tournament. Would probably be his best bet. And we'll see. We'll give it time. Like I said, he's young. Give it time, give it space, water it, put some sun, and maybe this flower will grow and grow and grow to be like a 10-foot tall sunflower. But right now, I'm cautious about him. I'm worried about him. Hopefully everything's going to be okay. I don't even want to talk about, you know, what he's capable of until I see some healing from him, because he's capable of a lot. We've seen it. But that version of Atamifuji is not really there right now. So best of luck to him. Hopefully he's healing good. Hopefully he's getting the spirit from his dojo or his, you know, his stable dojo. Sorry, I do karate. Very difficult. You've got dojo and dohyo. And I go to the dojo several times a week, but then I talk about sumo and I have to talk about the dohyo. It's throwing me off. I gotta admit. So anyway, the stable, hopefully there's good vibes in the stable, and Atamifuji's just gonna feed off of that and get back to where we know he can be. Next we have Churanoumi, Maegashira 4 East, up from Maegashira 7 West with a 10 and 5. So the new old sumo wrestler finds himself from a nice comfortable place in the middle to murderer's row. When you get to 5, sometimes you're okay, but when you get to 4, that's it. You're going to get the top guys. You're going to get the top matches. It's go time. So the question is he going to play spoiler, or is this his ceiling and he's going to get crushed? Hard to say. Now, I think I've said this many times before, but we were on a live stream and one of our subscribers pulled up an interview with Churanoumi and I read the whole thing out. He's a fascinating guy, the way he thinks. I like those thinking fighters. So this man is a thinking fighter. And that's how he ends up in Makuuchi at 30. Like his debut is at 30. It took him a long time to get where he needed to get, but he was always thinking and planning and strategizing, and hopefully has thought around like how to avoid injuries and how to tackle certain tasks, and maybe that experience will help him with these top guys who are a little bit more hot-headed, a little bit more like, I'm going to live forever, I can afford to try things. Maybe his, you know, wealth of experience is going to help him fight these sort of like feisty, chaotic matches. Of course, the problem is he's going to be a little bit slower and a little more tired than some of them. And they're very strong up at the top, physically strong. He can get out muscled. But I'm betting that this probably 31 by now, 31-year-old man has got plenty of tricks on his sleeve, and he's going to give us some great matches. That's my guess. I think we're going to get some great matches. I don't know that he's going to win them all, but it could be like an Ura feel, where you're just like on the edge of your seat, you're gripping, you're like waiting for the match to end, and bam, right on the edge. I foresee a tournament like this with Churanoumi. Hopefully it doesn't go the other way, and he doesn't get slapped down, and I'm like, oh, boy, I was wrong about that. But that's my guess. And our next guy, we have a very similar situation going on. Oshoma. Now, he's A new guy. He's a young guy. Also a 10-5. Moving up into that 4 spot from Maegashira 9 West. So a little bit lower down, getting propelled higher. He got the better of the rankings. He's got impressive timing and power. It's given him this chance. He's got some scandal hung on to him, so that's why a lot of people didn't want to talk about him. But now he's here, so we have to talk about him. He's doing well. He's shown consistently double digits in Makuuchi. But now he's going to get tested for the first real time. Now he's got to fight Murderer's Row every single day. And this is where we're going to find out who this man really is. There's room to impress, but he could also be humbled very quickly. And I really don't know. I really don't know where this is going to go. Then, throw Oshoma in the mystery box. No clue. I just know that I'm going to be very interested. It's one of those things where you'll be watching his matches each day, but it won't be till the end of the tournament that you can really appreciate what went on. I feel like it's going to be an analyze after the fact. Like the recap show might be very interesting regarding Oshoma and Churanoumi. But they're a nice pairing. I like when the Banzuke puts these two similar types of situations together in the same rank. I don't know. I guess I'm a numbers person and a pairing person. So both guys, best of luck. We're going to find out who you really are very soon. Now, Tobizaru, I think we know who he is, but at the same time, we don't know who he is. Maegashira 5 East down from Maegashira 1 West with a 5 and 10. He was red all over the place in September. And this is after he was climbing up to the Sanyaku. He'll make improvements, and there is potential, but we really don't know how that's all going to shake out. So what we know about Tobizaru is he, likes to play the sort of pull, slap, run around, but then he can also grab the belt. He can also slap down. He can do a lot of things. So he's unpredictable in that manner. You don't know which Tobizaru is going to show up. But there's a predictability in the unpredictability. If you look at him as just like someone who's going to flail, for lack of a better term, you might just bide your time and be super patient and wait for him to make a mistake. And I think those are the matches that he loses more often than not. When he just, gets impatient with these defensive guys and they're just like, yeah, okay, keep coming at me because I can take every hit you've got. And then bam, match is over. Or they send him flying into the third row. So Tobizaru is in a bit of a jam at this point. Really don't know where he's going to go from here. He's got to get some sort of stability. He's got to find some way to be unpredictable within his predictable way. And I don't know. He's on the smaller side too, so he's got a ceiling for sure. It's just a question of, is it in Sanyaku or is it right here? Maegashira 5. We'll find out. Next we have Kotoshoho, Maegashira 5 West, down from Maegashira 4 West with a 7 and 8. It was a really close Makikoshi in September. It means, just like Hiradoumi, he could turn that 7 and 8. It's like, turn that frown upside down. Take that 7 and 8, make it an 8 and 7. And then you up. Then you go up in rank. But he's got to give it his all. He does slack a little bit. Now, maybe it's not actual slacking, but it looks like slacking in the match. He seems to take his foot off the gas. Unless he's in a match where someone is punching him in the face, and by punching I mean slapping. Someone is pounding on his chest, pounding in his face. He reaches this new level where he's like, I'm gonna be stronger than you. I'm gonna slap you out of here. But these slower matches, the defensive matches, he's like loses focus or drive or something. And then he loses the match. He's got to figure it out. He's got to want this hard enough to be in every single match. He has to, if he's overthinking, cut that out. If he's underthinking, speed it up. This is something only he knows, what's wrong with him or not. I can't guess. He's been around long enough that I have no idea. No idea. He's still a young guy, but he's not exactly the fresh face on the block anymore. So now is the time. Throw it together right here at the end in November. Make a splash. Make people excited about you. Try some things. You're definitely going to fight Tobizaru, so make that a match to remember. His brother's also coming up, Kototebakari. He's not coming up to Makuuchi yet, but he's rising in the ranks, so maybe the brother energy can do something. But right now, Kotoshoho has more to prove than some of these other guys, and now would be the time. Next, we have Takanosho, Maegashira 6 East, down from Maegashira 1 East, 4-11. This was a little sad. Like, in the preview show for September, Takanosho was Maegashira 1 East, and I had hoped that he had returned. Because he was career Sanyaku guy. Like, he stayed in Sanyaku forever. He was doing so well. And then, it's probably the injury, but then other things went wrong, and he just got stuck in the bottom of Maegashira. He got stuck, just sort of up and down, up and down. This was exciting to see him get to Maegashira 1 East, but John was convinced that this was not the right rank for him and that he would be humbled, and that is what happened. So this is more of a realistic rank for him. The strengths he showed in September should be better down here, so his matches should go better. He might put up a much better score down here, but then he has the problem of getting ranked up higher and will probably get slapped right back down again. It seems like his Sekiwaki days are behind him. He's still young too, though, so, if it's an injury thing and it could heal, maybe something could happen, but he's also got the factor that Takekisho was his main training partner. He's gone. He might be a little lost himself. Can't find his way. There's no way to know when somebody goes from one way to another. So when somebody goes from a Sanyaku guy to here, you question, who is the real Takanosho? Was it Sanyaku Takanosho, or is it Maegashira mid Takanosho? Or did something change? It's hard to say. But he should do better down here. If he doesn't, that puts him on the warning list. That means there's something really wrong and we have to be concerned about him. But at this point, I go into November thinking he'll probably do okay. Certainly better than September. Next, we have Nishikigi, Maegashira 6 West, up from 13 West with an 11-4. A well-earned bump up in the ranks. Nishikigi will not give in to age. He doesn't care. He's like, nope, I don't care how old I am. I don't care how many guys retire around me. I have one or two bad basho, and then I come back, and I'm a force to be reckoned with. And that's basically what he continues to do. He's going to have better competition now in this, 6th rank. He's going to have more moments to show off. But we don't know at this point because of the age. Really, the problem with age is stamina, length of time to recover from injury, and speed. I mean, speed matters in the actual matches, but, Nishikigi's feeling pretty bad on day 6 compared to some other guys. It's going to hit him a lot quicker. And he's going to get a little slower, and he's going to get a little more tired. And that's why it's impressive when he does something like an 11-4, especially with all the guys that are there. So we'll see with him, 6 is a nice little spot where you're not going to get all the top guys, but you'll get some, and you're going to get the lower guys. And if he's in peak shape, he's going to have a great November. Maybe even another 11-4. Maybe even Yusho conversation. This is the kind of fighter Nishikigi is. And I'm very much enjoying his, late success. Because even though it's not a Yusho, even though it's not becoming Ozeki, this is success. Not everybody's going to win the Yusho. Not everyone's going to be Ozeki. But, just coming out there and being a force and having these records, and when he looks back someday, all the wins that piled up. I mean, this is a late surge success for sure. Unlike Mr. Endo, who Maegashira 7 East, he does rise from Maegashira 8 East with an 8-7. He had a very rough week too. There's not much in the tank. The spark and fade with him is really dramatic. It's like spark, fade, collapse. Or it's just collapse. His body is not in the best of shape compared to everyone else. I don't know exactly what motivates him to keep going. I don't know if he wants a future in sumo in terms of being a coach. I don't know if he just loves sumo, so he doesn't want to give it up. He certainly will have all sorts of offers outside of sumo to be like TV personalities and stuff, because he has a massive fan base, does lots and lots of commercials, has a supporters club that donates a lot of money. So he'll be fine after sumo, but I do wonder, like, where are his motivations? Are his motivations in sumo? Yeah, that all depends on how long he chooses to do this, but certainly his body is not going to hold up as long as, say, Nishikigi's. It's pretty beat up. So we'll have to see. I do love those surprise Endo tournaments where he is in the Yusho contention or beats a Yokozuna, or, you know, I love those because Endo does have a deep bag of tricks. He's a skilled guy. He's a smart guy in the ring. I think he's just taken way too many Hakuho forearms to the head at this point, and I hear his knees are bad. So best of luck in every tournament that you're in, Endo. Hope to see you as long as you're capable of doing it. Mitakeumi, Maegashira 7 West, down from Maegashira 3 West with a 4-11. Pretty merciful drop, considering the 4-11. That's, of course, due to how other people performed. I think this is where he's at this point. I don't exactly know what went wrong with Mitakeumi. I know lots of factors that existed with Mitakeumi. You know, the passing of his father, the loss of Ozeki, the injuries. These are the things that can tear a man down. And maybe you can't ever quite build yourself back up. I don't know if it's that, if it's the outside pressure just pushing down on him, or if he's just run out of steam. I mean, the body can only do so much. There's moments where he gets into a tournament and he looks fantastic in a match, and you're like, that's the man who won 3 Yusho. That's the man who made it to Ozeki. And then the very next match, you know, the very next day, somebody is walking him out without him putting up any effort at all. So, wherever the reason is, Mitakeumi is just not the man he was. The reasons only matter for, is he going to come back? And right now, that's a big question mark. So, best of luck to him, but we'll have to wait and see. So, next we have Roga, Maegashira 8 East, up from Maegashira 10 West, 8-7. Steady progress for our boy Roga here. He started off, you know, down at the bottom, stuck at the bottom, and he's turned it around. He's turned it into the tortoise in the hare situation, where just keep putting up those 8-7s, just slowly rise up the ranks. Give yourself similar competition each time, and then beat them again, and beat them again, and beat them again until maybe you're ready for that next level. He's, once again, you know, he's risen up enough that he's going to get a little bit higher competition, so we're going to see what he's made of. I expect if things are well, that it's another 8-7. If things are not well, be careful. 8 should be a safe place, but depending on what goes on around you, it might not be. So I think he's pretty much, I think there's very little chance that he gets demoted out of Makuuchi with a terrible record. So maybe that'll give him the confidence to sort of try things and fight his style and, you know, steady. I like the steady guys, because you can't have everybody rising to the top and then getting smacked back down. You have to have someone who's like, oh, wow, Roga, 8, huh? Wow, okay, so we're going to be fighting you today. You need a little bit of that as well mixed in. Next, we have Gonoyama, Maegashira 8 West, down from Maegashira 6 West with a 6-9. His sumo got exposed higher up. He really has to evolve his game if he's going to fight the top guys. He's not there. this is where he has to, like, November is a real big test for him. He has to show signs of improvement down here because he is powerful enough, at least on the Tachi, to defeat a lot of the guys around him. But he's got to go more than that. So he's got to show some improvement or else tread water. That's best case scenarios for him. He hasn't been looking that great in the last few tournaments, and I'm not sure what the reason is. I don't know if... We know he can do belt stuff. We know he was a belt guy and then transitioned to push sumo. Don't know if it's incompatibility with his style. Don't know if he doesn't know who he is, if there's an injury, or if he's just not as good at this as he thought he would be. I mean, he trained with a lot of the guys like, Ura and Takekisho and some other guys here. So he's fought them before. He knows how this works, but he's not able to dictate his matches at all. Feels like the matches he wins are either he blasts them out on the Tachi or someone makes a mistake. So, take a deep breath, Gonoyama. And just do your style of sumo. And hopefully you figure out what that is. And go from there. Because right now it's looking really dangerous. Next we have Midorifuji, Maegashira 9 East, down from Maegashira 8 West with the 7 and 8. He mixed in the throws. He's got power. It's a surprising power. It comes out of nowhere. And he always brings the grit. You throw those three things together, and you should have this awesome fighter. But it was only a 7 and 8. The problem for Midorifuji is the smallest guy in Makuuchi. So he has to be perfect. I've had that discussion about Enho. I've had that discussion on elite guys that are, up at the top trying to fight for survival. Midorifuji has to be perfect to win every match because most people outweigh him by quite a bit. And he's been trying for several tournaments, you can see it, to try different things. Like, he took out his Katatsukaashi and did a whole tournament where he only tried power. And then he sort of put the Katatsukaashi back in, and then he took it back out. And then he was working on throws, and then he, working on speed, running in circles. Now he's trying to put them all back together, and it's still not enough. But when you care about winning, you just keep going. And that's all he can do. Bring the three things he brought to September and try again. There'll be some guys who are off their game, and you'll take advantage of that. And there'll be some guys that you'll surprise. And there'll be some matches that you had absolutely no business winning, and it just happened. So really, there's no notes for him besides just keep doing what you're doing. Be extremely careful out there so that you don't get hurt. And hopefully success follows from there. I mean, he's in one of the best stables, the best stable in sumo right now, Isegahama. So he has access to Hakuho and Isegahama and Terunofuji and Takarafuji and Atamifuji. I mean, he's got all he needs to put this together except for the weight. So hopefully he can compensate in all those other ways that other small guys would have no ability to do. Next we have Takayasu, Maegashira 9 West, up from Maegashira 15 East with a 10 and 5. Not the full 15, but not weekend off Takayasu. He's at the end of his ability to fight. Okay, his back is consistently a problem. Other injuries are following, probably from overcompensating for the back. But yet, he's a skilled guy. He's a former Ozeki. He has the aura. You see it. If he can keep his back straight, and by straight, I mean healthy. I'm not saying if he just stood up straight, he'd be fine. If he can just keep himself healthy, which may be out of his control, he could do anything. We're still holding out hope. At least I am. I think John is too, but he won't say it. That he's going to get a Yusho before the end of his career. But the problem is, when is the end of his career going to be? Particularly when you see something like what happened with Takekisho. it shows you the fragility of this whole thing, the fragility of life, the fragility of sport, the fragility of anything that we hold on to in life, that we think, oh, I'm going to be doing this forever. I'm going to have tomorrow to try again. I'm going to just take a break, but next week will be better. We don't know that. You don't know if it's going to be, oh, I can fight till 35 or I can fight till tomorrow. That's where we're at with Takayasu. I feel like he could fight for 5 more years and maybe get a Yusho, or he could retire in the middle of November. It's that unstable with him. Now, I know he wouldn't want to, but his body is going to make that decision to some degree. So I hope all goes well. His body in good shape. He's got to get used to this sort of mid-Maegashira thing and just try to win a Yusho out of it. That would be my goal if I were him. Yeah. Anything's possible with Mr. Takayasu. But it's not like Shodai where, you don't know where his head is at. His heart is in it. His head is in it. The skill's there. Maybe he needs a little bit of luck. Next, we have Ichiyamamoto, Maegashira 10 East, down from Maegashira 9 East with the 7 and 8. The Darwin match loss bumped him down a rung. But the real sink or swim decider is whether he can find new ways to win. Maybe, better footwork, different attack transitions, work your angles. I mean, Ichiyamamoto is, the slapper, but he can also grab a belt. He's done it a couple of times. He's got to work those angles. He's got to try to do something unexpected. He's not the power guy. So it's all about the speed. It's all about the surprise. But he's got to turn it into something. He's got to at least put a string of moves together to maybe create an attack, or just find a way that he cannot be caught. It's tough. It's tough for him. He's not as skilled as some of the other pusher thrusters. He's not as big. He's a little awkward. Long arms. Long arms are good, but then there's a little bit of off balance to his sumo. That's where the footwork would really, really help. But at Maegashira 10, maybe he can do well this tournament. He's still, pretty much in the same position he was last time, so just make a couple of adjustments and maybe you'll have a better tournament. All these 7 and 8 guys, you can always just 8 and 7. That's all you got to root for. Next, we have Takarafuji, Maegashira 10 West, up from 15 West with a 10 and 5. Very pleasant surprise in September. He's in that veteran pack, but he's Mr. Stable. He's always been Mr. Stable. Even when he has a really bad tournament, you never look at it like, what happened to his sumo? You say stuff like, oh, he must have been really hurt. Oh, he must have been tired. Oh, this must have got to him. Because he still fights the same way, even when he loses. It's just he's so much older now that it's just not always going to work. But he is a stable guy. His defense is unmatchable. If he was 10 years younger, things would be going much better for him. So he's just fighting Father Time, and a lot of times Father Time wins, but then Takarafuji says, not today, sir, not this tournament, and he'll pull one of these 10 and 5s. So right now I'm going to enjoy the fact that he's on an upswing, and, I think he's holding out till Isegahama retires at the least. Maybe it comes, way after that, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be somewhere around that time. Or when Terunofuji retires, depending on how all that all lines up. But for now, I think we're going to enjoy him, testing the younger guys, enjoy him fighting some of the guys he's fought a million times before, like Takayasu. And, we're just hanging out and having a good time with Takarafuji. And the guy right below him, kind of a similar story, Tamawashi, Maegashira 11 East, down from Maegashira 10 East with the 7 and 8. He got the Ironman record, and at this point, any time we have him in the ring is just bonus time. He would think of it that way. We can think of it that way. There's a bunch more milestones I think he can reach every time that he fights. So I think he's just going to keep fighting until he can't and see how many records he can get. He turns the big 4-0 sometime in here. Let's see when his birthday is. November 16th. So in the middle of the tournament, Tamawashi will turn the big 4-0, which will open up more doors for more records. So right now we're just enjoying Tamawashi. We put no expectation whatsoever. We thank him for his service. We marvel when he pulls out the Nodowa and it beats somebody. We enjoy the smile. We notice him sitting on the side of the ring, looking at the audience and thinking about days of old. It's Grandpa on the rocking chair, but Grandpa is powerful enough to break the rocking chair into 17 pieces. And that's why we like Tamawashi. This man is 40 years old, people. And he's still Maegashira 11. Come on. I mean, it's super, super impressive. And with that 7 and 8, it shows you that, if he could still keep going. And I hope he does. So enjoy every match that he has, because you just never know when it's over, but it's going to be a fun time. Complimenting him would be Meisei at Maegashira 11 West, down from Maegashira 6 East, 5 and 10, back-to-back double-digit losses. So he goes from knocking on the door to Sekirake to crashing down to the bottom. He's got to rebuild. Whether it be his style of sumo, his confidence, whether he needs to heal. He needs to get a Kachikoshi right now. Right now at Maegashira 11. Otherwise, we're talking Juryo. I'm predicting that now. He either, takes care of this right now or he crashes out completely. Because things are just not going well for him. So now is the time at the end of the year to find yourself rising up. Something to be excited for, something to work for in the new year, versus starting in Juryo next time. He's got Hoshoryu as a training partner, so, he's got somebody who can truly help him out. As long as he's healthy, he can do this. I mean, it's not what he wants. He definitely wants to be working towards Sanyaku and all that, but right now, put those dreams aside and just protect yourself from demotion. And our next guy, Hokutofuji, probably the same situation, though he had a more favorable outcome. Maegashira 12 East up from Maegashira 13 East with an 8-5 and 2. It was a nice surprise with this wild injury situation. He pulls out. John thought he was done. I said that I didn't think he was done, and I want credit for that. And Mr. Hokutofuji comes back in and saves rank. Well, more than saves rank. He, rises. He doesn't get demoted. But he's injured. I mean, he's beat up. He's seeing the end of what he's capable of. So the question is, what does he got for November? What is he rooting for? What are we rooting for? There's so many questions. What are we doing here? I think in Hokutofuji's case, maybe he just... If you're looking at the goals, maybe the best goal is to just fight for 15 days and, get at least 7 wins. Because, it's looking a little dangerous right now, quite frankly. So we will have to see. November's going to tell us a lot, because September was kind of surprising and crazy. So we're going to find out. Best of luck to Hokutofuji, especially because he's John's favorite, and it'll perk John up if Hokutofuji has a good tournament. Next, we have Sadanoumi, Maegashira 12 West, down from Maegashira 11 West with a 7 and 8. So Sadanoumi is going through the slow fade. It's keeping him out of the dark horse resurgence. He's, slipping into, the lower levels where it gets dangerous, where a bad tournament and you're out. But a 7 and 8 shows that he's still okay for now. So the goal in November, 7 and 8 or 8 and 7. Don't make it too complicated. Keep yourself where you're at. Don't get demoted to Juryo. He could surprise us, though. He's like Nishikigi. All of a sudden, he just starts winning, and it's like, what is going on here? I did not expect that. So there we go. Sadanoumi, keep on keeping on, buddy. We're rooting for you. Ryuden, Maegashira 13 East, up from 14 East with an 8 and 7. Not the bounce back we thought was coming. But considering his rough outings, when he got higher up, it feels like maybe Maegashira 13 is the right place for him. He's got a lot of things to like kind of turn around, or this also becomes like a catastrophe. If he starts to lose consistently on the belt, it's over for him. I mean, you can almost count on if Ryuden gets his right grip on the belt, he's going to win his match, especially down here at 13. If he doesn't win on the belt on 13, there's major problems. Major problems. So that should be his focus, is just get the belt, walk your guys out, don't get too complicated. Now, Shonannoumi, Maegashira 13 West, down from Maegashira 5 West with the 3 and 12. Okay, so September was a complete disaster. He fell very far down the Banzuke, and now he's in a tailspin. He really needs to pull himself out of this right now. I don't necessarily think that he's going to have another collapse, but once again, once you're down here, if you've fallen down here versus risen up to here, you got to be careful. You seriously got to be careful. So, not sure what's wrong with him. This has happened multiple times with him where you're like, this guy's a big guy. He should be winning these matches. I don't know why he has these collapses. Might be time to go back to the drawing board and reassess. Unless there's an injury we don't know about. But at 13, he should have a better tournament. It should be a decent one, as long as there isn't anything catastrophic going on. Next, we have Chiyoshoma, Maegashira 14 East, up from Juryo 1 East with a 10 and 5. So, Chiyoshoma returns. Now, the last time he returned, he got injured and got knocked right back down. But obviously, he must be better because he got a 10 and 5, and now we get to start over. Chiyoshoma, welcome back. This is your real return to Makuuchi, and let's see what the Wily Fox has got in store for us. Let's see how many... I mean, he's got some guys down here that haven't had the best time. You know, he's sort of on an upswing, and they're sort of falling down, so he could have he could have a good tournament. I mean, he could beat Sadanoumi, he could beat Meisei, he could beat Takarafuji, he could beat Tamawashi, Hokutofuji, Ryuden, all on the best day. You got all these young guys down here. He's going to give them a hard time. So hopefully this is a good tournament for him, and we don't see him kicked right back out. Now we have Nishikigi, Maegashira 14 West, up from Maegashira 17 East with an 8 and 7. He just barely took advantage of his 6 and 9 hold that kept him out of Juryo. His path forward is very uncertain. He's still young, but this is a Takayama situation. He's very hurt, and whether or not he can ever recover from that is a big question mark. He's never going to be fully healthy. There's just too many injuries. But can he ever get to a state that's good enough that maybe he could get out of the basement here? I don't know. I see no signs right now that that's possible. I see the best case scenario for him is 8 and 7s and a lot of luck. So at this point, Nishikigi, I'm just waiting for you to show me something different, but otherwise I expect not too much. Next, we have Onokatsu, Maegashira 15 East, down from Maegashira 14 West with a 7 and 8. So he survives his top division debut. That's good. That's good enough. That really is good enough. Surviving is all you should try to do. And now you work on it. You try different things in training. You rest appropriately, but push really hard in other situations. You know you can do it. You know you can survive 15 days. You know how much stronger the Tachiai is now, so you can make adjustments. And yeah, we'll just see if it was enough, if he got enough experience to keep himself up here. Otherwise, he's in prime position to get dumped right back down. Speaking of which, we have Toki Hayate, Maegashira 15 West, up from Juryo 2 East with a 9-6. He's back for a second time. He was not held in Juryo for very long. He needs to improve his grappling. And, he's got some grapple-focused veterans here at the bottom that are going to show, like, hey, kid, this is what you need to do. That could be a positive thing if he learns a lot from these guys without losing too many matches. But at the same time, he is in the danger zone of getting knocked right back down because his style of sumo is done by veterans higher up than him who might be way better at it. So he's going to have to take advantage of just being the fresh face and maybe mix in a couple of things. And I know certain of our subscribers absolutely love the man. I've now joined the party of, bring Toki Hayate into the favorites column. So let's see, these polls. Let's see how he pulls it off. He's had his opportunity to try things in the top division and gone back down, and now he's going to come back up and try again. So best of luck to Toki Hayate. Next we have Shishi. Maegashira 16 East, up from Juryo 2 West. Debut. He had a 9-6. Whether he's a rising star, an overeager prospect, or the subject of a 5-minute tirade by certain members of the sumo community, depends on who you're talking to. But he's here, so we got to talk about him. And now all that matters is sumo. His sumo is the only thing to worry about now. Most people, I think, at this point, expect him to fail spectacularly. But who knows? Who knows? I don't want to say too much about Shishi because I really don't know him well enough. I don't think you know a wrestler in Juryo. I think you can only know them once you see them fight the top guys. So I'll have lots to say about Shishi once we get to the recap show, but for now, I wish you luck, Shishi. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Where it's not going to be a bumpy ride, most likely, is our next man, Terunofuji, affectionately known as the Undertaker. He rises from Juryo 11 West to come back up here to Maegashira 16 West with a 13-2. Seems like his injuries recovered. He terrorized the last time he was here. He came in, destroyed everyone, hurts himself, comes back with one leg, one ankle, and wins the Yusho. When he didn't even need to do it. He could have won the Yusho from his couch. One of the most dynamic fighters we've seen in a while. However, this type of injury that he had is something that can be done again. He could be injured again. Will that make him tentative? Will that make him double down? Will his ankle just be better this time? Will people be more prepared? They were not prepared for the power of his Tachiai last time. They just simply were not. Maybe they're going to be ready for him now. Maybe there's some hankas that get mixed in. A little bit of shift to the sides. Maybe not a full hanka, but maybe just a little tip. So I fully expect Takarafuji to terrorize again, which will be very exciting. But I do think that there will be surprises. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same as his top division debut. Really don't. I think the whole world's different since the last time he was here. But we'll see. He might end up coming in, blasting everybody out, and winning the whole thing. We know he can do it. We definitely know he can do it. So, exciting times, guys, when you have someone this talented at the bottom and you have all those guys up at the top. I mean, we could have a great November if we're lucky. Please let us be lucky. Please don't let it be an injury tournament. I beg of you. Please. I can't handle any more injuries. Anyway, moving on. Asakuryu, Maegashira 17 East, up from Juryo 8 East with an 11-4. A lot of bad records and a lot of luck puts Asakuryu in his top division debut. He's only been in sumo for 3 years, but he has a lot of star potential. But really, potential is nothing. Now we talk. We talk with our sumo. Now we fight. Now we show. Now we learn and understand exactly what the sport is once you reach the top division. So all that potential talk and all the greatness he's done, it's erased. All that matters is right now, this November tournament, what are you going to do with being the guy in the final spot close to the final spot in the Banzuke? Will you rise to the challenge and shock everyone? Or will you do exactly what someone in your rank is likely to do and fall back into Juryo? We'll see. Feel free in the comment section to tell me what you think is going to happen. And finally, we have Bushozan, Maegashira 17 West, down from 12 East with a 4-11, saved by the people who were doing worse. He's clinging to that lowest spot. It could be injury, it could be nerves, it could be distraction, but Bushozan was not himself. But right now, he has absolutely no room to screw up. It's do or die, buddy. You know the stakes. Let me throw out some more cliches and just say, do your style of sumo, and you'll be fine. And that wraps up the 42. The Juryo dumps were Kitanowaka, Kimbozan, Kageyaki, Shirokuma. Fifth slot opened up due to my guy's retirement. Hakuoho, Oho, and Kaio are within striking distance of the top division. Oops. Look at that. I did exactly the opposite of what I wanted to do. So, Hakuoho, very exciting prospect. I hope he gets better. He was really fun when he was up the first time. I think he's a skilled guy. I think he can make things so interesting. So, hoping and praying for our boy Hakuoho here. Kaio's right there behind him. The guys have a good tournament. We're going to have a nice little rise into Makauchi. Koto Eiho, Koto de Bakari, and Aonishiki are now going to be paid. And perhaps, there he is, getting paid will fuel this tournament. And they rise up really quick so we can see them. Because I love seeing another brother come in. And I love seeing another guy like Aonishiki come because everyone is hyped about him. For sure. Super hyped. So guys, I think this is going to be an excellent tournament. I really, really do. Please chat. Put things in the comment section. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your hopes and dreams for this tournament. Tell me your predictions. I will go with my prediction now. It cannot be Hoshoryu. I've picked him too many times and it's ruining his life and mine. So we're going to go with somebody different. I'm going with a Wakatakakage Yusho. Bam. Bam, bam, bam. And I'll have John tell me at a later time what his prediction is because I forgot to ask him before I recorded this. And I'll put it in the comment section. So guys, this one was a little bit shorter than our usual because I was solo. I hope it wasn't boring. I hope you were entertained. If not, my apologies. I'm hoping and praying that John will be back with us for the recap show. In the meantime, there will be some sumo live streams in week 2. And we're going to have fun. We're going to talk about what's going on. We're not going to have the pressure of Taki Keisho's career collapsing before us. We're now in a new age where we have hope. And we're going to look forward to things that are coming instead of dreading the things that are coming. So, this is Maria signing off for 42 Opinions. Can't wait to talk to you guys again soon.